YouTube, what's going on, man? It's your boy Groovy tapping in with y'all boys, man. Welcome back to another vid, man. Salute to my OGs, salute to my young boys that's watching this vid. I got another banger for y'all today, man. So as I can tell by that title and that thumbnail, man, we are reacting to the Jason Williams documentary, aka White Chocolate, man. A lot of y'all been telling me to react to some White Chocolate highlights and react to his story, so I got a little documentary right here, man. Little background that I know about him. I don't really know too much about White Chocolate. I do know he was a cold point guard, you know, a lot of flashy passes, kind of brought that street ball aspect to the game, you know what I'm saying? Very flashy type of guard. My boy is cold. He was cold, especially on the Kings with Chris Webber, was it Peja Stojakovic, and you know what I'm saying, et cetera, et cetera. Hopefully by the end of this documentary, I can get some game on White Chocolate, man. Make sure y'all like the video, show your boy Groovy some love, comment down below any video ideas y'all want me to react to next, and last but not least, subscribe, man. Y'all know what's going on, man. Let's hop straight into it.
The Sacramento Kings select Jason Williams from the University of Florida.
Okay, he went to
flashy
Florida.
style has brought him plenty of attention this year.
Oh, what a pass!
That's a dime right there. Look at the hustle. Ooh, over the head. No look.
That's why. They say already in New York that his jersey outsells anyone in the country now that Michael's gone. Even the Warrior fans are going crazy.
Fan favorite.
People call it White Chocolate, behind the back, between the legs, the no-look pass. People like to see that.
He throwing bounce passes too.
You know, people don't expect to do those things.
Here's Jason Williams behind the back. What a play, end-to-end for Miami. If you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball.
My boy was a passer.
There's more than one way to define a legend. Some may say that it's the player who wins the most championships, meaning they led their teams to the most success. Others may argue it's the person who produces the highest numbers over their career, as they can be seen as dominant over the competition. Even players who are loyal to a particular franchise over their career can be seen as a legend in their own respect. But what happens when a player comes along that challenges all of these ideas? A player that single-handedly changes the definition of a legend. Jason Williams wasn't your typical NBA star. He didn't look the part, and he didn't even put up all-star worthy numbers. However, in a time where street ball culture had begun to rise in the hoops world, J. Will gave an entire generation someone to idolize. For a small window of time, the undersized point guard was one of the most exciting players in the entire NBA. And while the spotlight proved to be too hot at times, White Chocolate proved that great ball players can come in all shapes, sizes, and colors.
Okay.
Jason Williams was raised in the small town of Bell, West Virginia, where he grew up loving the game of basketball.
That's all he did.
West
was
Virginia.
Just basketball, and when he wasn't in the gym, he was in the house dribbling, and he just bouncing that ball about drove me crazy. And I'd send him to his room, and he'd take the ball to his room and sit on the bed and just dribble, and just pretend he was doing things and throwing the ball behind his back. And I thought he was crazy when he'd go over in the gym and just throw it behind his back off the wall just time after time after time. I thought he was a nut.
Over time, he started to develop his own unique play style, one that was centered on handling the ball and passing, less on scoring. A style that resembled the all-time greats like Pistol Pete Maravich, who was remembered for his jaw-dropping passing and ability to get the crowd off their feet at any given moment. This discouraged many of J. Will's coaches at a young age, but he knew that if he wanted to make it to the NBA someday, he'd have to be able to stand out.
Right.
And you were doing ridiculous behind that back passes even during high school. Did coaches ever hesitate or kind of tell you to kind of chill out a little bit?
All the time, man, all the time. But I wasn't trying to listen to none of that. You know, I just.
That's what makes him him.
Everything you've seen me do, I've practiced. You know, I've worked on. So I don't think coaches could really say much.
And when you were in high school, at this point, did you know you were going to go to the NBA?
I personally did. I don't think anybody else knew, or nobody was trying to hear that. But that's all I knew. You know, that's what I was going to do.
Over the course of his high school career, Williams gained a reputation around the state as one of the most exciting guards to watch, playing alongside future NFL Hall of Famer Randy Moss.
Whoa, he played with Randy Moss?
Era, he would find himself facing the challenge of receiving only a few college offers. In the spring of
Randy Moss
1994,
was a
Williams
hooper?
committed to Big East power Providence College. However, after then head coach Rick Barnes left for Clemson that summer, Jason chose to make a change. He instead decided to attend nearby Marshall University, where a young first-year head coach by the name of Billy Donovan was trying to build a program.
Billy Donovan.
Together, the two built a close relationship. So close, in fact, that after redshirting the first year and averaging 13 points per game and 6 assists in his freshman season at Marshall, Williams
tough.
would follow Coach Donovan to yet another new school. In the summer of 1996, Billy Donovan accepted the head coaching job at the University of Florida, and Jason followed close behind. After sitting out a year to fulfill NCAA regulations, Williams would become the starting point guard for the Florida Gators in the 97-98 season. Over the course of that year, Jay Will averaged 17 points per game and 6 assists,
tough.
establishing himself as one of the most
Pro
complete
numbers.
guards in the country, and even breaking the single-game assist record at the University of Florida with 17. Williams' highlight reel style was beginning to get national recognition, and just as it seemed the Gators would make a push for the NCAA tournament, everything changed. In February 1998, Jason Williams was suspended indefinitely from Florida's men's basketball program for marijuana use.
Damn,
After
he was
finally
smoking
having
that
gained
gas?
the attention that his game deserved, Williams was now faced with the harsh reality of an uncertain future.
A person has to hit rock bottom before he really
He got
elevates and
suspended for
catapults into
hitting
something
that
special.
gas?
And Jason hit rock bottom. I think probably for the first time in his life, he was at a crossroads where either I'm going to shape up, get my life in order, get my act
Boys in
together,
college trying to
or
get
I'm
high.
going to be nobody.
Well, at first, you know, when I failed
Okay.
the second drug test, I got kicked off the team, and at first I was thinking, what am I going to do now? But the very next day, I put it behind me. I had to apologize to Coach Donovan, my dad. You know, when he steps up to the plate, he's got 3 strikes. And I feel as if I've already had 2, and if I swing and miss again, then my career's through, and I don't know what I'll do then.
Just months before the draft, Williams would receive a phone call from then Orlando Magic player Nick Anderson that would change the projection of his entire career.
After leaving college, Jason worked out with members of the Orlando Magic, honing his skills and raising his stock.
Nick Anderson of the Magic, you know, he called me. He was just right down in Orlando, and we had the same agent, and I went down and moved in with him and started working out with those guys. They really knew a lot more about the game than I did, but, you know, once I got going and started working out and lifting weights and getting a little bit stronger, I started fitting in, I guess.
On June 24, 1998,
Okay.
Jason Williams was drafted with the 7th overall pick in the 98
Damn, he
NBA
went
draft.
7?
The pick was met with
Okay.
a fair share of criticism, as not only were the questions being raised about Williams' decisions off the court, but many believed his decision-making on the court was cause for concern as well. Up until that point, the NBA had done its best to avoid crossing lines between street ball culture and professional basketball. The birth of AND1 basketball in 1993 had sparked a near decade-long revolution of the game, gaining fans all over the world. The flash and spectacle of street ball was looked down on by the league, and it was believed by many that no player with the flair of the streets could succeed on a professional court. However, with the face of the NBA announcing his retirement just months prior, fans were looking for more reasons to tune in, and the door was open for a new era on the hardwood. In 1998, the NBA faced the first lockout to result in a shortening of the regular season in league history, and games didn't tip off until February 5th of 1999. Jason Williams would have the keys to the Sacramento Kings offense, and with a roster full of weapons like Chris Webber, Vlade Divac, and Peja Stojakovic running the floor alongside him, the stage was set for one of the most exciting teams in the NBA. From the moment Williams stepped on the court for the first time as a rookie, he had NBA crowds eating out of the palm of his
Sacramento,
hand.
let's
With
get it.
endless no-look passes, half-court alley-oops, and deep transition threes, Jay Will was performing in a way that stood out
did he
amongst
just do a
traditional point
no-look?
guards, and the national spotlight was beginning to take notice.
The league needed a shot in the arm. They needed some flash. Along comes this little white guy doing things that people have never seen done before with the basketball.
Jason and the Kings quickly became must-see TV nightly.
So he
playing a
slick brought like
fast-paced
that
transition
street
style
ball
game
flair to the
with ball
game
movement in the half
that
court
nobody
made
really
fans
seen
of
in the
all ages
NBA.
stand to their feet. Williams was the perfect facilitator, showcasing his skill set that had been crafted for hours in a small West
I like the way he
Virginia
played
gym.
though.
When he had the ball in his hands, nobody
Shifty,
in the arena other
flashy,
than him knew what was going to
exciting.
come next, as he was finding passing
You know
angles
what I'm
and
saying?
open opportunities that only he could create. The misdirection and unpredictability made everyone watching sit closer to the edge of their seats, just waiting to see something they had never seen
that's
before.
tough.
This national attention resulted in Jason Williams having a top 5 selling jersey in the NBA as a rookie. And he
Top
quickly
5
became a
selling
regular
jersey
on
as a
highlight reels
rookie?
all over the country. The Kings themselves were
Damn, the fans was
going
rocking
27
with, bro.
23 in the shortened season and winning 10 of their last 11 games to secure their first playoff berth in 4 years.
Wow.
In the first round of the 1999 NBA
Oh, they played
playoffs,
Mahomes.
Sacramento
I mean, I
matched
said
up with the
Mahomes. Malone?
defending Western Conference champion
Malone's in
Utah
Stockton?
Jazz, who had dominated the West over the past few years thanks to the duo of John Stockton and Karl Malone. The Kings were the heavy underdogs in the series and had much less playoff experience, but the pace they played with caused problems for the aging Jazz roster. They would go on to lose the series 2-3, but not before they had taken the lead in the series for a moment and officially put the rest of the league on notice. Jay Will had gone toe-to-toe with John Stockton, who was at the time considered one of the best point guards in the NBA,
Okay,
and earned the
Jay
respect
Will.
of fans and players all over the world. Over the course of his rookie year, he had cemented himself as the most popular point guard in the game of basketball, being the floor general at the heart of one of the league's fastest rising teams and competing with players like Vince Carter and Paul Pierce for the title of
I
Rookie
like
of
the way he
Year.
played, bro. I
All
like
of the
his
question
game.
marks from the beginning of the season seemed to be distant memories thanks to their success, and the future was bright in Sacramento. The next season saw the Kings make another leap in progress from the previous year, posting an improved 44-38 record. Jay Will's popularity continued to grow around the league, as Sacramento was no longer catching teams by surprise, and fans all over the world were tuning in to see Williams put on a show.
He was turned.
Jason received the stigma for being one of the most confident and fearless players in the NBA, and each game his reputation continued to grow. Possibly the greatest moment of his career came at All-Star Weekend 2000, where he performed one of the most legendary passes in basketball history. Rumors have been going around for years that Jay Will had a secret move that he hadn't pulled out yet, and midway through the Rising Stars Challenge, he earned his place on Basketball Mixtapes Forever.
Oh, that elbow pass. He created that? That's crazy.
All the great passers, they know where the trailer is. And this is just a great move because he picked up that trailer.
Like, how do you think of that? Like that was smooth as hell.
By the end of the season, the Kings had once again squeezed into the playoffs, but were once again bounced in the first
Shaq and
round,
Kobe?
this time by another up-and-coming power in the West.
Hell no. Ain't no way in hell y'all getting past
Entering
them
the
boys.
2000-2001 season, expectations were high in Sacramento. The past 2 years had seen the Kings knocked out of the playoffs early in a competitive series, and many were expecting them to take the next step in their core's third season together. These plans hit a slight roadblock in months prior to the regular season, as Jason Williams was suspended for the first 5 games of the year for violating the NBA's anti-drug program, which he had been placed under due to his incident at the University of Florida. The 5 games themselves made little difference to the Kings' season, but the headlines of Williams' off-court struggles began to resurface across the media.
Damn.
Questions were raised about Jason's commitment to winning games, and although the NBA never released the details as to why he was suspended, many people assumed his drug problem had become a reoccurring issue.
Damn.
While speculation rose off the court, on the court the Kings had finally hit their stride. Though they had shown flashes of great basketball over the past 2 seasons, the 2001 season saw them put it all together and truly take their place as one of the most dominant teams in the West. Sacramento was one of the most popular teams in the entire NBA, winning 55 games during the regular season and becoming a staple on national TV. Nobody wanted to miss Williams make a defender look silly on any given night with a move they had never seen before. The minute Jay Will and the Kings stepped on the court, it was all eyes on them. Alongside him, Chris Webber had established himself as one of the best players in the entire NBA, revolutionizing the power forward position. Vlade Divac and Doug Christie were in the primes of their career, and Peja Stojakovic had become arguably the best shooter in the NBA. Together they looked to bring respect to Kings basketball and make a run in the playoffs. Although they had been bounced in the first round of the previous 2 seasons, they came out strong in 2001, beating a solid Phoenix Suns team 3-1 and setting up a rematch with the Lakers in the conference semifinals. The duo of a prime Shaq and Kobe Bryant caused problems for the offensive-minded Kings, and exposed some glaring holes in the roster.
This was
Jason
prime
Williams
Shaq, too,
struggled
though.
heavily during the series, averaging only 5 points per game on 29% shooting,
Damn.
and having more turnovers than assists for the first time in his playoff career. Sacramento would put up a fight in 3 of the 4 games, but would end up being swept by Los Angeles, resulting in them being eliminated by LA for the 2nd year in a row. Although they had made progress from the year before, Williams had been faced with several off-court issues down the stretch of the season, including altercations with fans that resulted in a fine from the NBA. As the national perception of Williams had slowly become more negative, Nike decided to cancel a planned advertising campaign that had been centered around him, and questions about Jason's commitment to the game began to re-emerge. He was still one of the most exciting players in the NBA to watch, but his unpredictability was only appreciated when it was on the court, and his production had slowly dipped over the past season. The minute Jay Will started to keep team execs concerned about what he might do next, paired with the poor showing in the biggest series of his young career, it was only a matter of time before something gave way. On June 29, 2001, the Sacramento Kings traded Jason Williams to the then Vancouver Grizzlies for Mike Bibby, in a move that surprised many hardcore fans. Williams had been a fan favorite and floor general for the Kings for the past 3 seasons, and was now being dealt from the top of the Western Conference to a Grizzlies team that had finished with the 4th worst record in the entire NBA, and was set to relocate to Memphis that summer. As a fellow member of the '98 draft class, Mike Bibby was known for his consistency at the point guard position, and fit the Sacramento roster perfectly. They would go on to make several playoff runs and reach the Western Conference Finals with him at the helm. Williams, on the other hand, was given something he desperately needed: an escape from the spotlight. The past few seasons had seen Jason rise to the top of NBA stardom, but the pressure from media and microscope on his off-court issues resulted in a situation that would be hard for anyone to perform in. Expectations were low in Memphis, and Jay Will was given the freedom to reinvent himself both on and off the court.
Okay.
The beginning of Jason Williams' career in Memphis saw him being handed the keys to a franchise with nothing to lose. With a fresh start in Tennessee, bringing in a player like Williams made the most sense. Even if you may lose games, why not give the fans something they want to see?
Right.
Jason's first season in Memphis was his most productive of his career, averaging 14 points per game and 8 assists, and starting every game with his new
playing
team.
free basketball
It wasn't
right
the
here.
bright lights of California or the national spotlight every night, but Williams was doing what he did best: going out and having fun playing the game he loved.
Right.
The flashy plays and big-time highlights were still handed out nightly,
Ooh,
and every
good
fan
God,
in the
did y'all
arena
see that?
plays what he did best.
Hold up.
Goals were still handed out fun playing the game he
Look
loved.
at this.
The flashy plays and big-time highlights were still handed out
Swing,
nightly,
spin,
and every
no
fan in
look
the arena
pass.
always had to be
Oh
on the
my
lookout for
God.
something they had never seen before. Jay Will's time in Memphis is often overshadowed by his early years for the Kings, but his time with the Grizzlies may
come here.
very well be where he became the best version of himself. The off-court issues were fewer and far between, and the team was progressing each season with Williams at the helm. A young roster filled with a future star in Pau Gasol and solid role players
played
like
with
Shane
Pau Gasol.
Battier and Mike Miller formed a new core around Jay Will. And
yeah,
within
Mike
2
Miller,
years,
Shane
the Grizzlies
Battier.
found themselves in the playoffs for the first time in franchise
Oh, that's
history.
hard.
Jason Williams spent 4 years of his career in Memphis, longer than he played anywhere else in his career.
Okay.
His time with the Grizzlies speaks volumes because it allows you to see his evolution as a player, a transformation that is due in part to head coach Hubie Brown, who saw the potential of what Jason could become.
I
That's dope.
just feel that with a talent like Jason Williams, you have got to be straight, you have to be disciplined, you have to push the talent to its potential. We owe it to you. You have great talent. We're going to strain your potential until you cry for mercy. Because you see, I don't know whether in your heart
That's a good
that
coach.
you want it for yourself as badly as I want it for you.
He came into the franchise as the young, flashy player that had been written off as nothing more than an inconsistent sideshow, and left as one of the smartest veteran point guards in the league, having led the franchise to 2 consecutive playoff bursts. He had cut his turnovers per game in half, possessing one of the best assist-to-turnover ratios in the entire league, and became the
his
Grizzlies'
teammates.
all-time assist leader by the time he left. No, Williams wasn't the same white chocolate that made him famous in Sacramento. His jersey wasn't the top selling in the NBA anymore, and he wasn't looking to make the craziest highlight play possible on every single possession. But he had proven that he knew how to be a winner, and it caught the attention of a franchise out east that was looking to make a push at the finals. On August 2nd, 2005,
Miami,
the
he
Memphis
did
Grizzlies
win a
sent Jason
championship.
Williams
I
to the
forgot.
Miami Heat as
With
part of the
D-Wade,
biggest trade in NBA history. 13 players changed teams in the deal, and J. Will was sent to a Miami squad that had just been bounced from the Eastern Conference Finals just months prior. After being moved to Memphis in an effort many thought would be the end of his career, a reinvented Williams now found himself back on a contending team, and at the helm of one of the most talented rosters in the league. Just one summer prior, the Heat had pulled off a blockbuster trade, bringing in the greatest big man the game had to offer in Shaquille O'Neal, and we're currently seeing a young Dwayne Wade developing into a star right before their eyes. Now with the addition of a pass-first point guard like Jason Williams to facilitate the ball, the 05-06 season looked promising in South Beach. Williams was named the starting point guard from the moment he stepped on the court in Miami, being tasked with running the offense and filling a valuable role for the franchise. His development as a player during his time in Memphis had given him the maturity needed to take on the role, something a young Jay Will had been unable to do in Sacramento. As mentioned, Miami had two stars in Wade and Shaq, and the rest of the roster was filled out with seasoned vets like Gary Payton, Alonzo Mourning, and Antoine Walker. The experience on the roster meant that everyone knew what it took to be successful, and the chemistry developed from each player filling a role led to instant success.
Everybody knew their role.
Williams' ability to create scoring opportunities for teammates
and he started too on this team
would be his defining contribution to the season, and together the Heat would win 52 games on their way to winning their division. Jason played a total of 59 games that season, missing a handful due to a lingering knee injury, but would start in all of them. He was the third leading scorer on the team and placed second in assists and minutes played per game.
So he was a big part.
Wade.
Hold on, he was a big part of this.
He was the third leading scorer on the team and placed second in assists and minutes played per game, only trailing Dwayne Wade.
Okay.
Williams also shot the highest three-point percentage of his career at 37%, addressing the inconsistent shooting stigma that had followed him early in his career. Jason was making better decisions.
I'm thinking he was a role player on this team. He actually really
gave him and helping to lead the Heat to a high.
Was a huge piece in this championship.
Williams' playoff record up until this point had not been the greatest, having never advanced past the second round even after helping lead two separate franchises to consecutive playoff runs. Things were different in Miami, however, as the combined experience and talent of the roster proved to be a force in the 2006 playoffs. The Heat would defeat a young Bulls team in the first round 4-2 before handing a talented Nets roster a second round exit. Miami had climbed back to the Eastern Conference Finals and now faced the Detroit Pistons, who had eliminated them in the same series the year before. Jason Williams' numbers had dipped slightly in the playoffs as he worked to feed the other players on the roster, but Game 6 of the conference finals would prove to be the biggest game of his career. With a 3-2 lead over the Pistons and fear of a Game 7 in Detroit, Game 6 was a must-win for the Heat. On June 2, 2006, the two teams met at American Airlines Arena, and for Williams, the stage had never been brighter. After facing criticism early in his career for being unable to perform come playoff time, he silenced critics once and for all. Jay Will would start the game off with the first 2 buckets of the game, on his way to making his first 10 consecutive shots, stretching all the way into the fourth quarter. He was controlling the pace of the game and set up teammates with 6 assists in addition to 21 points. The Heat had eliminated Detroit and would take their place in the NBA Finals for the first time in franchise history.
That's tough.
Facing the Dallas Mavericks in the 2006 NBA Finals, the Miami Heat were out to prove that they belonged amongst the NBA's greatest teams. A prime Dirk Nowitzki was playing some of the best basketball of his career, and the Mavericks outperformed Miami in the first couple games to take a 2-0 series lead. Instead of folding under pressure, the veteran Heat rallied behind incredible performances by Dwayne Wade, who would average 34 points per game in the series on his way to leading Miami to 4 straight victories. Jason Williams would lead the team in assists during the series, facilitating the ball on offense and feeding the hot hand during the series. After 7 years in the NBA, filled with failed team expectations in Sacramento, disappointments in big moments, and question marks about his career, Williams would now forever be known as an NBA champion.
Was this your best season
That's
statistically?
dope.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm going to say it's my best season no matter what, just because we won.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's all that matters to me. And you ask all 15 guys on that roster, that's the same mentality.
Jason would play 2 more
That's dope.
seasons in Miami, maintaining similar numbers and consistently being the starting point guard for the franchise. The team itself would not replicate the success they had in 2006 again during Williams' time with the Heat, being eliminated in the first round and failing to make the playoffs altogether in the next 2 seasons.
Damn.
By his last year in Miami, you could see that Jason was beginning to decline in productivity, partially due to lingering knee and foot injuries, and the franchise as a whole was ready to enter into a new chapter. J. Will's time in Miami had been the perfect climax of his career. He reached the pinnacle of basketball success and was given a second chance on a contending team that had surely seemed far away during his early years in Memphis. The Heat gave him the opportunity to prove that he was more than the flashy young star that had made his name in Sacramento. He was one of the game's best floor generals, and now had a ring to prove it.
Tough.
The final years of Jason Williams' career are spread pretty thin as far as production goes. He retired for a full season after departing from Miami, then made his return to the game in the summer of 2009. Williams would sign a 1-year contract with the Orlando Magic and took a reduced position with the franchise as the backup point guard. He would play in all 82 games that season, starting 18 of them, and played a key role coming off the bench during the team's run to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Damn,
The following
I did not know
season,
that.
Williams would re-sign with Orlando, but after arthroscopic knee surgery, lost his place in the rotation. Jason would end his career in 2011, signing a deal to play the remainder of the season in a return to the Grizzlies. The final stretch in Memphis was a fitting end to J. Will's NBA career. They had been the team that helped him find his identity on the court, and had given him stability during a period of time in his career that was anything but. Williams would finish out the season before electing to retire from the NBA for good. The career of Jason Williams is one that has to be looked at as a whole to really appreciate it. It's easy to just look at the highlights from his rookie year, or just see the championship in Miami and make assumptions about what J. Will's legacy is. But like so many other aspects of his game, what made Williams so special was never on the stat sheet. It was never in the accolades, it was never even in the ring. What made Jason's legacy larger than life is all in how he made you feel when watching him play.
Definitely.
The anticipation, the unpredictability,
Ooh.
the idea that you may be about to witness something for the first time.
Like, look at that
Few
pass.
players in the history of the game
You
have been
flashy
able
as
to
hell.
have
I
that
like
type
it.
of impact on every person in the gym watching them. Jason Williams was a star
You brought that
before his
excitement
time,
to the game.
a mixtape icon who thrived in a period where basketball was just beginning to embrace the creative side of the game. No, he never produced all-star numbers. Instead, he did something that will always outlast any statistic. He inspired a generation to have fun with the game of basketball,
Right.
to push new limits and use their imagination. A lesson that we see imprinted on the game's current generation of stars. Williams will never be considered the greatest point guard to ever play the game, but he took the game and transformed it forever, and that makes him a legend in his own way.
Definitely. I like that. Great career. Like my boy said, he ain't put up all-star numbers, but he definitely had an effect on the game, man. He made it okay to bring that street ball flashiness to the league, you know what I'm saying, man, and to be free and play the game your way, you know what I'm saying, man. So salute to Jason Williams, man. I did not know he was hooping like that in Memphis, though. He was hooping in Memphis. He started to find himself. Started to mature, and then once he got to Miami, that's when he won his first chip with D-Wade. He definitely made some noise with the Kings too as well, man. So if y'all like the reaction, man, hit the like button, comment down below any videos y'all want me to react to next. And last but not least, subscribe, man. Y'all know what's going on, man. Young Groovy signing out.